Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of Mark. We're still in Mark chapter 3. Today we start reading at verse 20. Now the ministry of Jesus is growing rapidly. Many are coming to hear him preach. Many are becoming his disciples. Great crowds attend him wherever he is. And in this next paragraph, we're going to see that he also begins to face more opposition and more obstacles in the way of his ministry. Now some of it's expected, and some of it comes from an unexpected source. So let's begin to read Mark chapter 3, verse 20. Now Jesus entered a house. A crowd had gathered. He and his disciples were not even able to eat. We can see the press of the crowds is so great. Now when his family, that is the family of Jesus, heard about this, they went to take charge of him, and they said, "He's out of his mind." And the teachers of the law who came down from Jerusalem said, "He is possessed by Beelzebul, by the prince of demons. He is driving out demons." So the ministry of Jesus is growing. The crowds are so great, it's hard for his disciples even to find time to get a meal. But two obstacles are in his way. Now one is expected. As we said, this comes from the Pharisees and the religious leaders. Their opposition has been growing already. And now it's really reaching a fever pitch, actually. Now, of course, they began to be opposed to Jesus early on, these religious leaders, these teachers, these Pharisees. For instance, when Jesus claimed he had authority to forgive sins, that really upset them. Who does he think he is? Only God can forgive sins. Remember, that was when he healed the paralytic, and he said to him, your sins are forgiven. Now, he, of course, healed the man as well, but they just passed over that. But only God can forgive sins, of course, because Jesus has the authority of God. He is the Son of God. But anyway, that began the opposition to grow. And then, of course, they were upset with Jesus because he started calling people like Levi, Matthew, the tax collector. He calls tax collectors, sinners, to be his disciples. Who would do such a thing? So opposition grows. And then he begins to not follow the regular protocols of faith as they understood it. I mean, his disciples aren't fasting the way our disciples do. Why not? That's the way you do things. And so they're upset at the way he practices faith, not following the protocols, the rituals as they understood them. And then he claimed to be Lord of the Sabbath. His disciples plucked some grain and ate it on the Sabbath day. And when they said, "Why are your disciples doing such a thing?" He says, "Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath." And he says, the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath. Another claim to deity, another claim to be God. And then he healed someone on the Sabbath. And they got really upset because he's healing on the Sabbath, which they consider work. They don't care about the man being healed. He could stay in his disease for all they care. If you heal on the Sabbath, you can't be from God. All these things have happened, and the Pharisees' opposition has grown to a fever pitch. Primarily because so many crowds are coming. They are so opposed to Jesus, and he's got crowds, he's drawing a following, so that they think we've got to find a way to stop him. And so notice the accusation they make. He is possessed by evil, Beelzebul, which is another name for Satan. By the prince of demons, he drives out demons. Isn't it interesting? They can't deny that Jesus is driving out demons. They can't deny that Jesus is setting people free from evil spirits. So what they do, we can't deny the miracle. So what we say is the power comes from an evil source. Satan is driving out demons. Satan possesses Jesus. They say Jesus is demon possessed, and that's where he's got his power. Now Jesus is going to answer that, but let's hold that for just a moment. So this is the expected opposition. The Pharisees, we've seen this building. But what is unexpected is that his family is also opposed. Not for any of the same reasons, but they see Jesus' ministry expanding. They don't understand it. And they think maybe he's lost it. They say he's out of his mind. They don't understand who he really is. They don't believe yet. They will in time, but not yet. And so they think he's kind of lost his grip on reality. They think, when I was growing up, sometimes when somebody was really in love with Jesus or real committed, that people would say, well, he's just a religious fanatic. He's just a fanatic. That would be a criticism. And that's kind of how the family of Jesus criticizes him. He's a fanatic about this thing, and maybe he's lost his grip on reality. So they come to try to collect Jesus. We're going to see that in just a moment. They try to collect him and take him back home and stop this ministry thing. So isn't it interesting? Jesus has opposition to his ministry from two sources completely opposite. The Pharisees, who are just adamantly against him and say he's possessed by evil. That's the accusation they're making. And his family, who loves him but think maybe he's a little fanatical about this and we need to collect him and take him home. So Jesus has to deal with both of these. And in tomorrow's session, we're going to see how he responds to the Pharisees' accusation and also how he responds to his family's felt need to kind of collect him and take him back home. So we'll look at that in tomorrow's session. So join us next time for our 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of Mark.